The city was quiet that night, yet filled with whispers of something dark, rising against a woman named Maya Collins, a young journalist who once dreamed of changing the world, but never knew that one day, the same world would turn its back on her, in the cruelest way imaginable. Every screen was showing her face, every voice on television was talking about her name, some with anger, some with fake sympathy, but none with truth. They said she had sold secret information from the government to a foreign group. They called her a traitor, a liar, and a disgrace to her country. Maya sat in her small apartment surrounded by silence and flashing headlines. Her hands were shaking, her eyes red from crying. She could still hear the words of her boss that morning: Maya, we cannot keep you here. The company has to protect its reputation. You need to leave immediately. His voice cold, his eyes avoiding hers. She remembered running out of the office into the pouring rain, trying to breathe as strangers stared at her, their phones raised to record her fall from grace. The same people who once praised her work now filmed her pain as entertainment. Her phone kept ringing, reporters, friends, old classmates, all pretending to care, all wanting a comment, none wanting the truth. She threw the phone on the bed, but it vibrated again this time. The screen showed a private number. Something inside her told her to answer. She hesitated, then picked up the call, her voice trembling. Hello? The line was silent. For a moment then, a deep, calm voice spoke: Maya Collins. This is President Robert Hale. We need to talk. For a second, Maya thought it was a cruel prank. Her breath caught in her throat. She whispered, I think you have the wrong number, Mr. President. But, the voice continued with quiet authority, I never have the wrong number. Ms. Collins, please listen carefully. You are in danger. Her knees went weak, her heart racing. She looked around her apartment as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. She asked, What do you mean, danger? Who is after me? But the president only said, Not on the phone, they are listening. Come to the address I will send you now. And then the call ended. She stared at the screen as a message appeared, a location, just 1 hour away, a part of the city she had never been to. Her hands trembled as she typed back, Who is they? But no reply came. The rain grew heavier outside, thunder rolling across the sky. She sat there, frozen, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, the faint sound of sirens in the distance. Everything felt unreal. She looked at her reflection in the window. A woman who once smiled with pride at her work now looked lost and afraid. Maya had spent her whole life chasing truth. But now, truth itself seemed to be chasing her, and she didn't know why. Her mind raced back to the last story she had worked on. It was about government corruption, secret meetings, private deals. But she never got to finish it. Her editor told her to drop it 2 weeks ago, saying it was too dangerous, but maybe she had gone too far. Maybe someone had decided to make her disappear. The sound of knocking broke her thoughts, soft at first, then louder. She froze. Someone was outside her door. She whispered, Who is it? No answer again. 3 loud knocks. She grabbed her phone, but the battery had died. She looked around the room for something to protect herself, her eyes landing on a heavy lamp. She lifted it with shaking hands. A voice came through the Dr. Miss Collins, please open up Secret Service. We are here to escort you. The president sent us. Her heart pounded faster. She opened the door just a little and saw 2 men in black suits holding badges. One said quickly, We do not have much time. Please come with us now. She hesitated, but something in their eyes told her they were serious. She grabbed her coat, her old bag, and followed them down the narrow hallway into the dark, rainy street. A black car waited, its engine already running. One agent opened the door for her and said, Once you get inside, do not speak. Keep your head down, we are being watched. The city lights blurred through the rain. As the car moved silently through empty streets, Maya tried to make sense of what was happening. She wanted to ask questions, but remembered his warning: not on the phone, not in public. They are listening. After what felt like forever, the car stopped at a tall building she recognized from the news. The White House. Her mouth went dry. The gate opened slowly and they drove inside. When she stepped out, another man was waiting, older, calm, his presence strong and commanding. It was him, the president himself standing there under the dim light of the entrance. He looked at her for a long moment, then said softly, "You have been framed, Miss Collins, and the people behind this are not strangers. They are closer than you think." Maya felt her world spin. The wind howled around them, lightning flashed across the sky. She wanted to ask who did this to her, but her voice failed her. The president looked at her with a heavy expression and added, "If we do not act fast, they will destroy you and everything you care about." Her mind went blank. Her fear turning into cold confusion, she whispered, "Why?" Me and the president said, "Because you found something they wanted buried forever." And in that moment, Maya realized that the nightmare was just beginning. Maya Collins stood there in silence, her heart racing as the rain poured harder around her, the president's words still echoing in her mind, framed closer than you think. Those words kept repeating like a haunting song. She wanted to believe this was a dream, that soon she would wake up and laugh about it, but deep down she knew it was real, and that her life had already changed forever. The Secret Service agents guided her through the long marble halls of the White House. The sound of their footsteps. The only thing breaking the heavy air, she could see portraits of old leaders on the walls watching silently as if they too knew secrets no one dared to speak. The men stopped outside a large wooden door. One of them nodded to her quietly and said, "He is waiting inside." Her hands were cold, her throat dry. She stepped inside the room, and there he was, President Robert Hale, sitting behind a desk covered with files, papers, and photographs, his face calm but his eyes sharp and full of concern. He gestured for her to sit and said in a low voice, "You are in danger, Miss Collins, but you already know that, don't you?" Maya nodded weakly, her voice shaking. "I don't understand, sir. I didn't do anything wrong. I swear I never touched any government data. I only wanted to find truth in my reports." The president leaned forward and said, "I know you didn't do anything wrong. Someone wants you destroyed because you got too close to something they cannot let the world see." He opened a black folder and turned it toward her. Inside were pictures of people she knew, her boss, her co-workers, even her sister Lena. At first she thought it was a mistake, but then she noticed the dates and times written under each picture. Meetings, phone records, secret messages. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "My sister. What is she doing there?" The president watched her closely before answering, "Lena is not your enemy, but she has been pulled into something dangerous without realizing it. There are powerful men using her to reach you. They think you have evidence that could ruin them." Maya shook her head. "I don't have anything," but the president said firmly, "You had it once before your laptop was stolen last week, correct?" She gasped, remembering the night her door was broken. The note left behind, "Stop digging, or your sister disappears." Her voice cracked. "You mean they took it, the proof, the story, everything?" He nodded. "Yes, and now they are using your sister to silence you." Maya's mind filled with images of her sister smiling, hugging her on her birthday. The thought of Lena being used by criminals made her chest ache with fear and anger. The president stood and walked toward the window, the city lights flickering behind him. He said softly, "I can protect you, but only if you tell me what you found before they took it." Maya hesitated, trying to recall the last article she worked on. It was about a company called Crane Industries, connected to secret government deals, arms contracts, money disappearing from public projects. She had gathered files, emails, witnesses, but she never published any of it because her editor told her to stop. 2 days later, she was fired, and then the fake report appeared calling her a traitor. She told the president everything, every word, every memory, and he listened carefully, not interrupting. Once when she finished, he turned to her and said, "Crane Industries belongs to Victor Crane, a man we have been watching for years, but every time we get close, evidence vanishes, witnesses disappear, and now you were the last person who had anything solid against him," Maya whispered. "So he is behind all this?" The president nodded slowly. "Yes, but he doesn't work alone. He has people inside the system helping him, and one of them was your editor." Maya felt dizzy, the room spinning around her. She couldn't believe the man she trusted to publish her stories was part of the same trap that ruined her life. The president placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and said, "Maya, you are brave, But bravery alone won't save you. Now we need to be smarter than them. He handed her a small phone and said, "This device is secure. If anyone contacts you outside this channel, ignore them. From now on, you will stay in a safe location. Until I say otherwise, we have a team searching for your sister." She looked up at him, tears in her eyes, and asked, "Why are you helping me, sir? Why risk your name for me?" The president looked away for a moment before answering, "Because truth matters, Miss Collins, and because years ago someone tried to silence me the same way they are trying to silence you, I will not let them succeed again." The clock on the wall ticked. Softly, thunder rumbling outside, the president walked to the door and said, "An agent will take you to a safe house tonight. You must not tell anyone where you are going, not even your friends, not your family, not your sister. Do you understand?" She nodded weakly, clutching the phone in her hand. As she stepped outside the room, the hallway seemed colder, longer, heavier. She felt like a ghost walking through shadows. She didn't know who to trust anymore. But deep inside, a small spark of determination began to rise. They wanted her afraid, but she wasn't done yet. She would find her sister. She would find the truth, and she would make the world hear her side. The car was waiting outside again. Engines humming, lights off, rain falling hard. The agent opened the door and said quietly, "We move now, no talking until we reach the safe house." She nodded and got in. Watching the White House fade behind them, her mind filled with questions and fear, but also with a strange new strength she didn't understand. Yet, as they drove into the dark night, the president watched from the window above, whispering to himself, "They think they can bury the truth, but they have no idea what she's capable of." The rain had stopped, but the sky was still heavy and gray. As Maya Collins sat quietly in the corner of the small room that now served as her safe house, the air smelled of coffee and dust, and the only sound was the slow ticking of an old clock on the wall. She had been there for 3 days, hidden away, with 2 silent agents who never smiled, never talked, only watched her as if she were both a guest and a prisoner. Every night she thought about her sister Lena. She remembered the way Lena laughed, how she always believed in her even when others doubted her, and now the thought that Lena might be in danger tore her apart inside. She wanted to call her, to hear her voice, to know she was alive. But the president's warning echoed in her head. "Not even your sister." The small phone, the president, gave her buzzed softly. She picked it up, her hands shaking the message on the screen. "Read. New information. Stay calm. A file will arrive soon." She stared at the screen, waiting a moment later. Another message appeared with a code name, Operation Halo, followed by a single picture. She tapped it open and gasped. It was a photo of Lena sitting in a dark cafe, speaking to a man Maya had never seen before. The man wore a black coat, his face half hidden behind shadows, and yet there was something dangerous in the way he leaned forward. The caption under the picture said, "Meeting with Victor Crane, Associate." Her breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding so loudly she thought the agents outside could hear it. She whispered to herself, "No, Lena wouldn't do this. She can't be part of them," but doubt crept in like a slow poison. She remembered the president's words, "They are using her," and now it seemed true. That night she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of wind made her jump. She walked to the small window and looked out at the empty street below. Lights flickering, rain returning in soft drops. She saw her reflection and barely recognized herself. Her eyes tired, her face pale, her hope fading. Suddenly her phone buzzed. Again, this time it wasn't a message. It was a call from an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered, her voice trembling. "Hello?" The line was filled with static, and then she heard it. Lena's voice, soft and frightened. "Maya, don't trust them. Please, you have to listen. They are lying to you." Maya's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Lena, where are you? Tell me what's happening." But before Lena could reply, a man's voice cut through the line, cold and sharp. "Hang up, Miss Collins, or your sister will regret it." Then the call ended. Her heart felt like it had stopped. She fell to her knees, clutching the phone. She knew then that Lena was alive but trapped. She needed to do something, but she didn't know who to trust. The president said he would protect her, but now she wondered if even he knew the full story. The next morning, one of the agents handed her a sealed envelope. He said, "The president wants you to see this," and then left the room. She opened it slowly. Inside were printed photos, more meetings, more faces, all connected to Crane Industries, and in every photo somewhere in the background was Lena Maya's hands, shook as she flipped through them one by one until she found the last picture and froze. It was taken. Just yesterday it showed Lena standing near a building. Maya recognized the old factory outside the city where her father used to work long ago. Written at the bottom of the page were 2 words: "Tonight, midnight." Her mind raced. She knew it was a trap, but she couldn't ignore it. She needed to see her sister. She needed answers. She waited until evening when the agents changed shifts quietly. She packed her bag, grabbed the phone, and slipped out through the back door. The night air was cold, her breath forming small clouds as she walked down the dark alley. She found an old car nearby with keys still inside, as if someone had left it for her. She drove through the empty streets, the city lights fading behind her, the road wet and shining, under the moonlight, every mile feeling heavier than the last. When she reached the factory, the place looked abandoned. Windows, broken walls, covered in rust and silence, thick like fog. She parked the car and stepped out, her shoes splashing in puddles. She called softly, "Lena, are you here?" "It's me." But only her. Echo answered. Then she heard it, a soft cry from inside. She ran toward it, her heart racing. She pushed open the old metal door, and there she saw her sister tied to a chair, ropes cutting into her wrists, her eyes wide with fear. Lena Maya gasped, running to untie her, but Lena shook her head. "No, it's a trap. Get out now." Before Maya could react, lights flashed around her. Men in suits stepped out from the shadows holding guns. One of them smirked. "Too late, Miss Collins. Welcome to the truth." She froze, her hands trembling, her eyes darting between them and her sister. The man stepped closer, his face finally visible. It was the same man from the cafe. "The one in the picture," he said, softly. "You were supposed to stay hidden. Now you've ruined everything, but maybe it's better this way. Now we can end it tonight." Maya looked at her sister helplessly. Lena whispered, "I didn't do it. Maya, they made me. They said they'd hurt you. If I didn't listen, please believe me." Tears streamed down both their faces, and just then a loud sound cut through the air. The distant roar of a helicopter. Lights beamed through the broken roof. A voice thundered from above. "Nobody move, secret." Service President Hale's voice echoed across the factory. The men scattered. Chaos broke out. Maya shielded Lena as dust and light filled the room. In that moment she realized the president had been watching her all along, and maybe, just maybe, he had planned this night from the very beginning. The sound of the helicopter filled the night like a storm breaking over the old factory. The lights from above cut through the darkness and dust. The men in suits started to run in every direction, their voices shouting orders that mixed with the roar of the engines. Maya pulled her sister close, her arms shaking as she whispered, "It's okay, Lena. Hold on. We are going to be fine." But deep inside, Maya knew this was not over. Something felt wrong too. Perfect too easy. The Secret Service had arrived just seconds after she found her sister, as if someone had known exactly where she would go, and when she would get there. The thought made her heart sink with confusion and fear. The door crashed open, and agents in black uniforms rushed inside shouting, "Federal agents, put your weapons down!" The air filled with noise and movement. The men who had trapped Maya dropped their guns one by one, some trying to escape, others frozen in fear. The helicopter. Light swept across the floor, revealing the faces of those who had been hiding in the shadows. And for the first time, Maya saw how young some of them were, just pawns in a bigger game. Then a tall figure stepped in from the side entrance, his presence strong and calm. It was President Robert Hale himself, wearing a dark coat, his expression unreadable. Maya couldn't believe her eyes. She had never seen a president outside the television, and now he was walking toward her through the chaos, like he had come straight out of a dream or a nightmare. She couldn't tell which. He reached her side and said softly, "You are safe now, Miss Collins, and your sister too. The people who hurt you will pay for everything." Maya wanted to thank him, but before she could speak, one of the captured men shouted, You think you've won Hale, you don't even know who you're fighting against. The president turned his head, his voice steady. Who is giving you orders? The man only laughed bitterly. You will find. Out soon, sir. They are already inside your walls before anyone could stop him. He pulled something from his jacket and the room filled with smoke. Maya coughed, unable to see her sister's face. The agents shouted, Get down, protect the president. The helicopter lights flickered through the haze. Someone grabbed Maya's arm and dragged her toward the exit. She tried to hold on to Lena, but her hand slipped and she screamed, Lena, where are you? When the smoke cleared, the factory was half empty. Several of the men had escaped. The president was safe, but Lena was gone again. Maya's heart shattered. She fell to her knees, whispering her sister's name over and over until her voice broke. An agent helped her up, saying, Miss Collins, we need to leave now. It's not safe here. She looked around the ruined place, feeling helpless and lost in the car. On the way back to the safe house, Maya sat in silence, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. The president sat beside her, his face thoughtful. His eyes on the road ahead, he finally spoke. They took her to make sure you stay quiet, but we will find her. I promise. Maya turned to him and asked, Why are they doing this? Who are they really? The president sighed, his voice low and heavy. There is a network of powerful people. Businessmen, politicians, foreign investors, all tied to Victor Crane. They use fear and lies to control anyone who gets in their way. You became a target because you got too close to something that could destroy them. Maya listened quietly. Tears running down her cheeks, she said softly, They have my sister and they will hurt her if I fight back. The president shook his head. They won't win because we are not fighting alone. Maya, you are not just a journalist. Anymore, you are a witness, and that makes you dangerous to them. That's why they fear you. He handed her a small envelope and said, This contains the key to the truth, but you must not open it until I tell you to. It's the only thing keeping us. Ahead of them, back at the safe house, the agents surrounded the building, setting up new security systems. Maya walked to the window, staring at the city lights far away, her reflection faint in the glass. She whispered to herself, I should never have left the factory I should have stayed for. Lena, guilt tore at her heart, but there was also something else burning inside her. A growing anger, a quiet strength she hadn't felt before. She turned to the president, who stood near the door, and said, If we are going to find my sister, I need to know everything, no secrets, no lies. He nodded slowly, his face serious. You will have the truth, Miss Collins, but once you have it, there is no going back. Are you ready for that? Maya met his gaze, her voice steady. I have nothing left to lose. Later that night, when everyone else was asleep, she opened her bag and found a folded note that hadn't been there before. The paper smelled faintly of smoke, and on it was written in shaky handwriting, Maya Trust. No one, not even him. It was signed with a single letter. L. Her heart pounded. She looked toward the closed door where the president had been earlier, his words echoing in her mind. Truth matters, but now she wasn't sure whose truth she was following. The rain began again, tapping softly against the window as she whispered into the dark, I will find you, Lena. I promise. And outside, somewhere in the distance, a phone rang in the night, unanswered, echoing through the storm as another secret began to rise. The night felt colder than usual as Maya Collins sat by the window of the safe house, her eyes following the slow movement of the raindrops on the glass, each drop falling like a small heartbeat in the silence. Her mind was racing with questions, twisting between fear and anger. The note from her sister still clutched tightly in her trembling hand. Trust no one, not even him. The words burned in her thoughts like fire. She wanted to believe the president. She wanted to believe he was helping her, but now doubt was spreading like smoke through her chest. She looked around the quiet room, the shadows of the furniture long and strange. The agents who once guarded the door had disappeared hours ago, leaving her alone without explanation. She picked up the small secure phone the president had given her and whispered, Hello, sir, are you there? There was no answer, just a soft static that grew louder until it faded into silence. Something was wrong. She could feel it deep inside her. The air was heavy, the world too still. She moved toward the table and opened the envelope. The president had told her not to touch her fingers. hesitated, but curiosity won. The paper tore easily inside, was a small flash drive and a folded sheet of paper. On it, written in clean letters, were the words, Project Halo Classified Eyes Only. Her breath quickened. She turned on the small laptop sitting nearby and inserted the drive. A folder opened, instantly filled with documents, pictures, and videos. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through names, contracts, signatures, bank transfers. She didn't understand most of it, but one name kept appearing. Victor Crane. The man the president said was behind everything, but there was another name too. Robert Hale. For a moment she couldn't breathe. She blinked her eyes, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. The file showed payments, meetings, and secret communications between Crane and the president, dates that matched the same time the false accusations against her began. Her stomach twisted in shock, her voice a whisper. He knew everything. Tears blurred her vision as she read on. The truth was worse than she could have imagined. The plan had been created by Crane Industries and approved by President Hale himself. They wanted to silence journalists who were uncovering corruption inside their joint projects. Maya had been one of them, chosen because she was close to the truth. Her exposure had been staged by them together. The floor beneath her seemed to spin. She fell to her knees, the weight of betrayal crushing her chest all this time. She thought the president had been her savior, but he had only been protecting his secret. She remembered the calmness in his eyes, the softness of his words, and how easily she had trusted him. Anger flared inside her, hot and wild. She whispered through her tears, "You used me." A sound came from the hallway, footsteps slow and heavy. She quickly closed the laptop and hid the flash. Drive in her pocket, the door opened and President Hale walked in, his expression calm, his tone gentle. "You opened it, didn't you?" Maya looked at him, her eyes full of fury. She said, "Why did you lie to me? You said you wanted the truth, but you were the one hiding it." He sighed, his shoulders heavy. "I didn't want to lie. I wanted to protect you, but you were never supposed to see those files, not yet." She stepped back, shaking her head. "Protect me. You destroyed my life. You let them take my sister." He looked down, his voice almost breaking. "You don't understand, Maya. Lena was part of it from the start. She was working with Crane to collect information on me. She wasn't innocent." Maya felt her knees weaken again. She whispered, "No, that's not true. My sister would never do that." The president reached into his coat and pulled out a small recorder. He pressed play and a voice filled the room. Lena's voice, calm and cold, saying, "He doesn't know I'm passing everything to Crane once this is done. Maya will take the fall for all of us." Maya's body froze, her heart aching like glass breaking inside her. She shook her head, refusing to believe it, but the voice was clear and real. The president stepped closer, his eyes soft. "I didn't want you to find out this way, but you deserve to know she betrayed you before I ever did." Maya backed away, clutching her head, whispering, "Stop, please stop." But he continued, "I offered her a deal. She turned it down. Now she's gone because of her own choices." For a long moment there was only silence, broken by the faint sound of thunder outside. Maya finally lifted her eyes, her voice trembling. "You say she betrayed me, but I think you betrayed everyone. You used me to clean your mess." "Didn't you?" He didn't answer, just looked at her with sadness and said, "Sometimes the truth destroys more than it saves." Maya reached for the flash drive and held it up. "If this gets out, the whole country will know what you did." The president's face hardened. For the first time, his calmness fading, he said quietly, "If you release it, people will die. You don't understand how deep this goes." Maya took a step closer, her voice steady now. "Maybe I don't, but I know one thing: you can't hide the truth forever." She pushed past him and ran out into the hallway, her heart racing, her mind clear. She didn't know where to go or who to trust, but she knew one thing for sure: she couldn't stop now. The truth was in her hands, and she would show the world, no matter the cost. Behind her, the president called out her name, his voice echoing through the empty halls. But she didn't look back. The rain was falling harder outside, lightning flashing across the sky as she disappeared into the darkness, holding the flash drive close to her chest, her heart burning with anger and purpose. And somewhere in the distance a phone rang once again, and a familiar voice whispered, "It's time to expose the truth." The rain poured endlessly as Maya Collins ran through the empty streets. Her clothes soaked, her heart pounding like thunder inside her chest. She held the flash drive tight in her hand, as if it were the last piece of her soul. The city lights blurred through the rain. Every shadow felt like an enemy. Every corner whispered her name. She didn't know who was following her, but she knew someone was. She could feel their eyes even in the dark. She reached an old newspaper office at the edge of town, a place that had closed years ago but still had power running through one room. She pushed the door open. The hinges creaked loudly. She stepped inside, dripping water on the dusty floor, and whispered to herself, "I'm going to end this tonight." Her hands trembled as she turned on the computer. The screen flickered to life. She inserted the flash drive and opened the files again. The truth stared back at her like a ghost name's money deals. Betrayal, everything connected from Crane to the president to her sister Lena. It was all there, a web of greed and lies built over years. She wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. But she didn't have time. She needed to share it with the world before they found her. She opened a secret journalist network online, typed in a message, and attached the files, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Suddenly the lights flickered and she heard footsteps behind her. She froze slowly, turning around, and there he was, President Robert Hale, standing in the doorway. His face wet from the rain, his eyes darker than she had ever seen them. He said softly, "You really did it. You took it." Maya's heart raced. She backed away, gripping the edge of the desk. She said, "You used me. You lied to me. You destroyed everything I had." He took a step closer, his voice calm and low. "I did what I had to do to protect the country." She shook her head. "No. This wasn't about the country. This was about power and fear. You let them blame me so you could walk away clean." He sighed, looking down for a moment, then meeting her eyes. "You think I wanted this. You think I wanted to hurt you. Or your sister. Everything I did was to keep something bigger from falling apart." She glared at him, her voice full of anger. "Bigger like your reputation, like your legacy." He stayed silent for a moment, then said, "The truth can destroy nations, Maya. You don't understand what you're holding." Maya took a deep breath, her hands trembling, but her voice steady. "Maybe I don't understand politics, but I know the difference between right and wrong, and what you did is wrong." He stepped closer now, his tone sharp. "Give me the flash drive now, before you make a mistake." She shook her head, again backing up toward the wall. "I already sent it to the press. They know everything. The files are out." His eyes widened for the first time, fear flashing across his face. He whispered, "What did you do, Maya? You have no idea what's coming." Thunder shook the building as the lights went out, leaving only the glow of the computer screen between them. Maya could hear sirens far in the distance. Maybe police, maybe agents, maybe both. She didn't care anymore. The truth was free. She whispered, "You tried to silence me, but now everyone will know who you really are." The president looked at her for a long time, his expression unreadable, then slowly he nodded, almost sadly. "You remind me of myself when I still believed truth could save people, but you'll see one day that truth only destroys." He turned and walked toward the door, pausing for a moment before stepping out, saying quietly, "Goodbye, Miss Collins. The world will not thank you for this." Then he disappeared into the storm. Maya stood there, shaking, the sound of the rain mixing with the distant sirens, her heart heavy, but her spirit burning. She looked at the computer, the upload bar showing completed message sent. She fell to her knees, exhausted, tears mixing with the rain dripping. From her hair she whispered, "Lena, this was for you, for both of us." Hours later, the world woke up to headlines that shook every corner of the country. President Robert Hale and Victor Crane exposed for corruption, betrayal, and cover-ups. News channels screamed the story. The streets filled with reporters and protesters. The truth had broken free and nothing could stop it. Now Maya watched from a small cafe hidden behind dark glasses, the television above the counter showing Hale standing before Cameras, his voice steady but tired, saying, "Today I take full responsibility for what has happened. Mistakes were made and I will face them." She could see guilt in his eyes, but also something else. Relief, maybe, because the weight he carried for years was finally lifted. Outside, people were cheering, chanting her name. Maya Collins, the journalist who exposed the system. The woman who stood against power and won. She smiled faintly, but her eyes were sad because she knew the cost. Her sister, her peace, her old life all gone, replaced by a truth that changed everything forever. Later that night, Maya walked alone by the river, the sky clear after the storm, the city lights reflecting on the water. She held her sister's locket in her hand, the one Lena gave her years ago. She whispered softly, "I did it, Lena. I kept my promise. I told the truth." She looked up at the stars, her eyes shining with tears and hope. A soft breeze touched her face, as if the world itself was breathing again, lighter, freer. She closed her eyes and smiled, not because she was happy, but because she finally felt whole. She had lost everything, but she had found something greater, the courage to stand alone for what was right. And as the night faded into dawn, the story of Maya Collins became more than just news. It became a symbol, a reminder that even in a world full of lies, one voice of truth could still echo louder than fear.